So this is a message to social workers who are looking for where to work, what local authority to work for. If you're looking at working in the public sector, I'm going to give you some advice. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about the end of my studies in university and when I was in college because I did a diploma as well. And this is what happened. Near the end, tutors sometimes will prepare you for or try to prepare you for where you want to work. Now, some of you will, on your last placement in your local authority, they will try and keep you. But for those of you who don't want to work in that particular team or local authority, what tends to happen is that groups of you will get together and start saying, this is where I want to work because they pay the most money, or this is because they have a better Ofsted rating. Let me tell you, be very careful about your decision making. I'm going to tell you why. Because for you, let's talk about Ofsted first. For you as a social worker, the Ofsted rating doesn't really mean anything. Okay, it will say a lot of things about how good. Let's say it had an outstanding rating, right? Let me tell you, I've worked in a number of local authorities, and the rating hasn't meant anything to me. Why not? I'm going to tell you why. Because the rating could be it's based on a range of issues and topics, including how we work, how managers perform, statistics, the voice of the public, all of those things. But what it doesn't tell you is how they got that. And Ofsted ratings, for me, politically, are a bit of a problem. So what it doesn't capture is the voice of the social workers enough about how they work, their working environment. And if you're looking at a local authority that has good performance statistics, sometimes you have to ask yourself the question, how did they get that? And that's something that you won't learn until later on, but I'm giving you the advanced thinking on it, right? So a local authority could have really good stats on case management, assessments completed. That can give you the impression that it's a good local authority. Actually, no. I'm going to tell you why at the end, okay? There's another factor I'm going to look at, but before I do that conclusion, but you can't use the Ofsted rating to determine if you're going to have a good experience in a local authority. It doesn't tell you about team dynamics. It doesn't tell you about discrimination. It doesn't tell you about how good your manager is. It doesn't tell you about how connected the hierarchy is to the front line. It doesn't tell you all of those things. Okay. The other thing I want to say is when we were in uni, I remember years ago when I was doing my diploma, actually, people were like, I'm going to this local authority because they're paying 36K, whereas this one's paying 32. And I had a conversation with a really good, really clued up social work student. And he was asking me about the money element. And I said to him, you've got to think of this completely differently. Don't use the money to determine where you want to work. Okay, people were doing that, and what you're really doing, think about this, okay, what you're really doing is chasing 3,000-4,000 pounds over a year. And in today's money, that's not even money. If you divide that by 12, it's not a lot of money. You won't notice it. Okay, truth is, the more money you earn is the more money you want to earn. That's the way it works. Okay, so I'm saying to you that chasing the money and chasing Ofsted ratings, in my experience, it is a false economy, and it's a level of delusion. You've got to be careful. So the reason why I'm going to say that is this: what you want to look at is the quality of the team, the quality of the quality of management, the management style, and some of this you can determine in interviews. Sometimes you can get that you've got a really good manager lined up for you because they're usually the ones that interview you. And you can pick up from the interviews if this is going to be someone good to work for. It's not 100% guarantee, but you get the picture. If you ask me, from my experience, what makes a place worth working, let's bear in mind that social work is really heavy work. Remember, you've got your own stuff as a human being, you've got your own family, you've got your own history, and then you're going out into multiple homes and environments with multiple complex challenges. Who's going to support you with that? I've worked in local authorities where you have zero support. And I've worked in local authorities where my manager is spectacular. And I haven't wanted to leave because I have a great manager. It's happened more than once. And I'm saying to you that unless you have a good manager and a good team, you won't want to work there. And even if they were going to pay you 10 grand more, you would regret it. There is no social worker that, well, I can't imagine there's any social workers that are chasing 2-3 grand and an OFSTED rating and feel happy about being neglected by their team, by the neglected spirit, the anger, the frustrations in the service, and are happy to do that and wouldn't want to change that. So that's my advice. Hope it makes sense. Stay tuned to the social work race. The next video is for the families.